I like because they are a little straighter and they look really natural.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to open in prayer because we're in Deuteronomy 31.
Okay.
Yahuwah, most precious Father, we just come to you today thanking you for your lesson, thanking you for traveling grace and mercy for our sister. Father, we just ask that as we go through your word today, that you would illuminate our hearts and minds and help us to be more obedient and to look at what it is you have in your word for us to model, Father.
Yes.
Father, you've called us to hear and respond. So help us with our heart conditions, Father. Help us not to lean on our own understanding and to continue to trust you.
Yes.
In Yahshua's name, amen. So we are in Devarim, which is Deuteronomy 31. And last week we got out of 30, and it was restoration of the promise. Or restoration promise, excuse me. 29 just kind of, 29 also just left it wasn't a cliffhanger, but it was a strict command. It was nothing that you could question anymore. And 29 said, the secret things belong to Yahweh, our Elohim, but the things revealed belong to us, to our sons forever, that we may observe all the words of this law. So we've just been going through and we've been looking at how far away from the law we've come and why we're in the condition we're in, just as a people, as a nation, as women, men, how our children, we're talking, because this can just, the word is so timeless. So everything kind of still, it ties into today. So people are looking for the answer. And never to be condescending, but to always remain humble and understand that Yah has revealed certain things to those who have been obedient enough to just do what doesn't make sense to anybody else. So that's what we're dealing with a lot of times, because we're dealing with our families. I deal with children, I deal with my family, I deal with friends that have watched you in a walk for so many years in one way, and then they're like, well, what brought you out of that? I finally started to obey. Well, we go to church, we do this, we do that, but you're doing it according to tradition. So we're just with the word, we have been, and we've decided to, especially the remnant, we've decided to fight tradition with truth. And so as we go through, we just see how we've been going through from Bereshit or Genesis all the way down to Devarim. And so looking through it, nothing has changed. And then you get this dispensation of Yeshua is born and he's crucified, and he's ultimate sacrifice, and then everybody can do whatever they want to do. But we've seen from the beginning, from Bereshit, all the way to now, to Exodus, Vayakra, which is Leviticus, Numbers, we've seen that nothing has changed. He gave them a command, told them to keep it, and all the way through, everyone that was called to lead was given the same commission. And I'm going to show this in the end, how Yahshua, even as he went and was ascended to the Father, he left a great commission, and nothing changed. So we know the story of Moshe. We know that he was born. His name means to draw out. So he was drawn out of the Nile. His mother was allowed to nurse him. He watched the oppression of his people. They had fallen into captivity or slavery because Pharaoh was raised up that didn't remember Yosef, and began to see the Israelites or the Hebrews multiply and put them under bondage. So when you hear me say that bondage, or we're traveling back down south, we know Egypt was south, and Egypt represents a spiritual bondage, even though it's a physical, it's bondage. So whenever I say Egypt or people go back to Egypt, you just reference to bondage. And so we know that Yah raised him up to lead his people out, and we know they journeyed through the wilderness. They've seen his mighty hand work. They've seen him all through the wilderness sustain them. And so even to the point Moshe would get frustrated with him and told him, like, you have to help me deal with this people that you called me to lead. What am I supposed to do? And he's even sinned to the point where he won't be able to enter into the promised land. So that's just to bring us up to speed. So And 31, we're going to start with Moshe's last counsel. And if you'd like to, you could read 1 through 3, and then I'll take, I have some things on.
And Moshe went and spoke these words to all Israel. Was that the right place?
Yes.
And he said to them, I am 120 years old today. I am no longer able to go out and come in. And Yahuwah has said to me, you do not pass over this Jordan. Yahuwah, your Elohim, himself is passing over before you. He shall destroy these nations from before you, and you possess them. Yehoshi himself is passing over before you, as Yahuwah has spoken. And Yahuwah shall do to them as he did to Shion and Og, the sovereigns of the Amorites in their land, when he destroyed them. And Yahuwah shall give them over to you, and you shall do to them according to all the command which I have commanded you.
Okay. So we know now that this is Moshe's last counsel. And as we continue on, we'll see what was revealed to him. But he is 106 score. So we know that 70 was what was promised to a man. And that would be 70 years to live. So he's been allotted almost 40 more years to live, which is just grace and mercy in itself. Because when he led the people out of Egypt, or Mizraim, he was 80 years old. He was 80, and he was still in full health and strength. And he was able to lead them through, that in itself is a miracle, lead them through war, battle, counsel them, still in his right mind, strong as the day he was strong as he was at 40 when he killed the Egyptian servant or officer who was mistreating one of the Hebrews, and he ran out into the wilderness and he met Yah. So he says, before you go, he had some instructions for them. And we just see how law and order was set up. Yah spoke to Moshe, and then Moshe spoke to the people. So we get this, we could just do away with this whole, it's the law of Moses. No, he was an instrument. And so when we look at the word, we have to see that we are servants, and he was a servant. And to be a servant, you have to be obedient. So Yahweh spoke to him to convey to the people. And he said, so in verse 2, he said, and Yah said to me, you shall not cross the Jordan. So he's going on again telling them what Yah has told him. And we know that Yah spoke to Moshe face to face to the people. So that gets that does away with all of the semantics that was the word or the law of Moshe, and he made it up. But when we think about things in a Western mindset, we do think like that because we see how our government runs. We know that, you vote a person in, and then they get to do whatever they want to do according to their own heart's desire. And you say, oh yeah, we think we have legislature and Senate and government, but people pretty much do what they want to do, and it's bribery, and then you might end up murdered or killed. Nothing has changed because we know who the God of this age is. But we know that when Yah called these people out, he called them out as one nation. He called them out as one to obey him, and he chose a leader. And we just see how the order goes. He said, Yah spoke to Moshe, and then Moshe, and then spoke what was said to him. He didn't say what he wanted to say. That's what got him in trouble the last time. What got him in trouble the last time was Yah told him to tap the rock one time. No, speak. One time, tap the rock. Second time we came back to the rock, speak to it. He gets mad and he hits it. He disqualified himself because the very thing that he's going to go in and say in a minute, Yah called him to tell the people and to display that before them, and you didn't do it. And so they already hard-headed and they don't listen. Right. Now you gonna act up.
Right.
Now I have to punish you. So he says here, he talks about the things that he's done, and they're going to dispossess the land dispossess the people out of the land. And he's telling them according to the commandment. Because if we remember the commandment in Devarim 6, he says, Shema O Israel, Yahuwah, your Eloheinu is Ehad, or one. And these are the things these are the blessings and these are the curses. If you obey me, you'll be blessed in the city, blessed in the field, blessed when you come, blessed when you go. People always want to talk about that, but they don't want to talk about the flip side of it. There aren't as many blessings as there are curses, because the blessings are simple. If you do what I say, these things will overtake you. These blessings, and that's Deuteronomy 28. The blessings. These things will overtake you, and I will command them towards you. So we know that his word performs. So if you don't do it, then the curses will overtake you. Right. And there were numerous ones. And so people want to forget that part. And then, like I said again, politically, we want to know why we're in this state of turmoil now. And it's all because of disobedience. And so a lot of times me and my daughter talk about this all the time. It's like, it's so frustrating, because if the leaders would just get up and say one thing, obey. One nation, we claim to be one nation under God, well, we know he's Yahweh, indivisible, with liberty and justice. If you obey the chain of command, we would be indivisible, or couldn't be divided. But we're not that way, because we follow man, tradition, and everything else, and then we wonder why we are here today.
That's good.
We could eliminate our children being murdered in the streets if we got back to Torah. We could eliminate the poverty if we got back to Torah, because Torah speaks about the first, I believe it is 4 commandments are how we are to deal with Yah vertically, and then the last 6 are horizontally, how we're to love and care for one another. If we hear him and then display it out, we wouldn't have a lot of the epidemics we have. We wouldn't have the sick, the AIDS, the diseases. We look at the kids at 11 getting vaccinated for HPV. Well, if you weren't sexually active until you were married, we wouldn't have these problems. So it's a cure for it, but it's money. So we want to research, and we want to analyze minds, and we want to analyze scientifically why people disobey. We know fallenness is a point, but it's disobedience as well. So, we'll go to verse 5. Okay, we did 5. 6. So, Moshe calls in verse 6, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or tremble at them. For Yahweh your Elohim is the one who goes with you. He will not fail you nor forsake you. Then Moshe called to Joshua and said to him, in the sight of all Israel, be strong and courageous, for you shall go with this people into the land which Yahweh has sworn you of the fathers to give them, and you shall give it to them as an inheritance. And your Elohim is the one who will go ahead of you. He will be with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed. So Moshe wrote the law and gave it to the priests and the sons of Levi, who carried the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, and to all the elders of Israel. Then Moshe commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, at the time of the year of remission of debts, at the feast of booths, when all of Israel comes to appear before Yahuwah your Elohim, you shall read the law in front of all Israel in their hearing. Assemble the people, the men and the women, the children and the alien who is in your town, in order that they may hear and learn and fear Yahweh your Elohim. And be careful to observe all the words of this law. And their children who have not known will hear and learn to fear Yahweh your Elohim as long as you live on the land which you are about to cross to the Jordan to possess. So we see him here, they're straight out commandments. So he said, in front of the leaders, first he commissioned this, I'm just looking at the law and order again. Yah told him, tell Yahshua not to fear. Be courageous. Right. You've seen what I've done. Seen my mighty hand. You've seen me whoop your enemies with just nature. With the fleas, the Nile, with darkness, with gnats, with flies. And then you've seen the covenant that I made with you, with the lamb, with the Passover, and parting the Red Sea. So do not fear. And you know that these people are being dispossessed from the land for their idolatry, for the way that they don't honor me. And that's just, we have so many people that, you know, they look at timelines and they, according to timelines, yeah, Hamites or Mizraim was the first and the oldest civilized nation, just like Babel, because it says Nimrod was a mighty warrior before Yahuwah. And people think, oh, like he fought for Yah. No, he went before him, right. Which means he didn't follow him. So whenever I go ahead of someone, I'm not following them, I'm doing my own thing. So Nimrod was a mighty warrior and before Yah, and he did what he wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Let you have that for a season. Mm-hmm. You build a nation, but all that you build, I'm going to give it to somebody else. And so that's what's happened to us as well.
That's right.
We're the builders of nations. We build nations, but we don't get to enjoy the fruits of our labor because of disobedience. Someone always gets to come. You look at it now, somebody living in the White House, somebody living on them plantations in Alabama or in Arkansas and Atlanta, everywhere else, all the places that slaves built the wealth, their children are benefactors. They've secured the posterity for their future, and we still just building and scraping and scrumbling, and with our own things though. They get rich off of our talents, they're rich off of our gifts and natural abilities that Yah has given us. And so the same thing, he says, you seen what I let them do, but I called you, not because you were the greatest, not because you were the strongest, but because you were few, and I chose to love you because I wanted to build a nation with people, and I wanted you to be the light of the world, the salt of the earth. And I called your forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I made a covenant with them, and I'm going to bring that to fruition. But you have to do one thing: obey. Good morning. So, he said, at the Feast of Booths, every 7 years, we know that the Feast of Booths is what? Sukkot. And the Sukkahs, when they come out and all of the nations were coming, and they come to a point in time where Yah had told them to appear. He said, where Yah establishes. And he said, assemble the people so that they may hear. So this gets rid of all of the other things where, oh, that was for the Hebrews or that was for the Israelites. He said, no, I'm going to be real specific, because ignorance is not an excuse. You know, the IRS will tell you that in a minute. They send you a letter. I didn't get it. Oh, but you know when you filed your taxes, you owed money, right? So there's a 15% interest every day for whatever, however much it is. I know they drive you crazy. They will levy your accounts. They say, because it's not an excuse to say you don't know, because everybody knows the laws of the land, or supposed to know the laws of the land. I said, thank you. You just sit right there. Everybody's supposed to know the laws of the land. The laws of the land is, even in Yeshua's time, render to Caesar what is Caesar's. Do the best you can to live in peace amongst one another. Don't be causing no warring and all this thing with protesting. He never did that. So we wonder why we beat up and wet with water hose, because he didn't tell you to do that. He didn't tell you to march. He said obey. He said observe. So you observe what my servants do. Well, a lot of times we are observing what the servants do, and the servants are doing what they see others do, but they're not doing what this word say do. And so you're leading people astray.
That's good.
So he said, assemble the people so that you be not without any excuse, so that they may hear. He said, get the men, the women, children, and the aliens, the ones that came out with you, and everyone and bring them into your town in order that they may hear. So we know hear means, we're on verse 12, sorry. We know that hear means Shema. And if you have a Strong's, it's Hebrew number 8085. That's Shema. It means to intelligently and intellectually hear it so that you may perform it. The next one is Lamad, learn, and that's 3925, so that you may learn. And we know that it's just as simple like the Aleph Bet, you know, the Lamed means staff, controller, toward. So come hear me so that I can direct you which way to go. So we know with the lamet, the shepherd would poke, prod, and sometimes correct the sheep with the lamet. So the word for learn is lamad. So that you may teach, and so that I can instruct you. And we know that people learn, you say, oh, do as I say, not as I do. We learn by visual.
Right.
We learn by observation. If you just observe, you learn things and you don't even know how you did it. I remember I used to make my daughters so mad because I would be like, okay, we get ready to cook. You chop this up because they want to learn how to do something. Measure this out. How are we going to learn how to cook? Just cutting up stuff. Just do it. So they kept doing it. And then so at one point when they get their own families, they call and they're like, well, Mom, how do I make such and such? She said, I know this going and this going and this going. Okay, cut all that up and then call me back. And then I said, bake your cornbread or whatever they want to make dressing. And they said, okay, so what do I do? I said, well, did you bake your chicken or your turkey? Yeah. Okay, did you pour juice out? No, I didn't pour it out. I put it in a container like you used to do. Okay, now I'll tell you how to put it together. And then they call back tomorrow. Oh, it was good. After I tell them what spices to put in. You know how to do it because you observed long enough and then you hands-on help me. And so then when it was time to execute it, you really knew how to do it in the drawers of your mind. I just had to guide you through it because now you know all the steps. You didn't know why I was telling you to do it, but now when it's time to perform, you created what you wanted to create based on my instructions. Now I know somebody else that'll pour all the juice off of their turkey and then say, I don't know why my dressing is dry like hard cornbread because you pour it out. Well, it looks like too much juice. Well, just do what I'm telling you to do and don't put sugar in the cornbread and it won't be sweet and it won't be hard. For 20 years you do the same thing and wonder why it's the same way. Because you won't observe, you won't hear me, and you won't allow me to instruct you, right? So then the next one he says, so also so that they may, he says so that they may hear, learn, and fear. And we know the word fear is yare or yare, and it's 3372 in your Strongs. And to fear means, excuse me, to morally reverence with a fear or to revere. And I don't know why, but it's almost like a kid how the Israelites are and how we are as people. Because if I see what you're capable of doing to your enemies, why would I want to get on the wrong side of your wrath? So there should be like a healthy fear, reverence. But we know that to not reverence means you're proud.
That's right.
You're not humble. I was just explaining that to my daughter before we left. She was watching Karate Kid. She likes to watch it. And she goes, well, why did, when they were done, they bow out. She's like, well, why did all the boys reverence him, like bow out to him? I said, because, I said, humility. I said, when he had overtook the boy, or when he neutralized, he could have neutralized him. He could have really went in and hurt him. But he showed him humility and graciousness because I didn't do what you were trying to do to me. You were trying to harm me, do physical harm. I just wanted to prove a point. I wanted to not be afraid of you anymore, and I wanted to stop you from bullying me. But I could have hurt you. And I said, so when he was done, I said the boy understood that, and so he honored him for his sportsmanship or whatever. And I said, and that's how Yah wants us to be. He loves us. And I said, just like I'm your mom, I said, when I tell you to do something, I can really just make you do it by force. Like I can spank you or I can take things away from you. I said, but I allow you to humbly do it without me having to forcefully make you do it. Because I always tell myself, I can make you do what I want you to do. So I don't know why you're not listening, but I want you to do it out of respect. Not because I'm going to give you something, but because you respect and love me. And that's the same way with Yah. I want you to morally reverence me for who I am, your creator. And I said, and to reverence or to be humble means that you know that there is something bigger than you, something greater than you. You are created. And the only reason why everything in your body works the way it's supposed to work, the reason why the universe stays in order is because of one word, because he commanded it to. So if he commands your heart to stop, it has to. And so there's a awe and a humility that you should have for your creator. And I said, but we see how we are. We hear, and we don't fear a lot of times, or we don't learn. We hear, but we don't do. So to hear and not do shows a lack of respect. It's disobedience, and it shows a lack of respect. It just goes back, like last week's was, make sure I get it right. Last week was Shema, I gotta go back. It's Shema, it was hear, do, and love, ahab. So if it's ahab, Shema, it's Shema, ahab, and then it was do. So if you love me, you'll hear me, and you'll do what I said. And if you do what I said, it means you heard me, and it means you love me. It just goes back. So that gets rid of that whole thing where they say, oh, well, the greatest commandment was love. Well, it is. And if I love, I obey. And if I obey, I show I love. And just back and forth. If I treat mankind, well, you're just supposed to love your brother as yourself. No. If you love, you'll do all that I've commanded. And so, hi, Miss Shirley, we're in 13.
Hello.
We're in Deuteronomy 31, and we're on 13 right now. So he says, observe, so that they will observe. So they'll observe you, and then your children will do. So if you don't do it, then guess what? Your children aren't going to do it.
Right.
Also, I have a scripture for you guys to write down, because I have some things that you guys can really study, because whomever you obey is your master, correct?
Right. Right.
Somebody get 2 Corinthians 4:4. Yes.
Want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay, whose minds the God of this age has blinded, who do not believe, lest the light of the gospel of the glory of Yeshua, who is the image of Yah, should shine on them.
So we know whoever you obey, that's your master. So if you obey tradition, and if you obey what a pastor says, oh, well, he read it, he said we don't have to do it. He's being led by not your creator. It said the God of this age, or the El of this age. So we know who the El of this age is, because it goes all the way back to the garden. When Shua obeyed the voice of Hasatan, he became her master.
Right.
And then that's why we're in dire need of a kinsman redeemer.
Right.
And even at the beginning, when she obeyed him, Yah provided a covering. An animal had to die. The first sacrifice took place in the garden, and he covered her nakedness. Also, he cursed the ground, told her, but he also gave redemption. He gave a way out. He told her that you would give birth, and that you would you would want your husband's position. You'd want to rule him, and the ground, he was going to toil the ground until with sweat and blood, and from the earth you came, and the earth you'll return. But your seed will redeem you. So she thought that, of course, she was going to have the Messiah or the Hamashiach, and that didn't happen in her time, because her kids was Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
That was a mess.
That was a mess.
So we saw what Hasatan thought he was doing then too. So we know that whoever you obey, that is your master. You also see, again, the commission where Yah told Moshe, and then he told him to tell Joshua, we could probably close that door so we don't get the flies in, to be courageous. And we know in the book of Joshua 1 and 5, he said, if you obey me and you're strong and obedient, do you have to fear? If I'm obedient, do I really have to fear anything?
No.
I don't even have to fear the things that do come or are allowed to happen to me, because he says I won't leave you nor forsake you. And he even he promised Joshua He said in Joshua 1:5, he said, no one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life, as I was with Moshe. So I will be with you. I will never leave you or forsake you. And in Joshua 14:11, he was still strong as the day he was leading the Hebrews, the Israelites, into the land. He was confident in his Savior, or in Yah, and he knew his obedience, and so he didn't fear. And that was the same reason why him and Caleb were the only two allowed from that generation to go in, because they didn't fear, and their faith was securely fastened, or chazah. So it's strong, or chazah, means to fasten, to seize, to be strengthened. And we know that to be fastened also in the Hebrew is Hebrew 23:88. It when he calls them in verse 6 to be strong, it also said it means to be established. It means to cure. So if you're securely fastened, and if you're strong in Yahshua or Yah, then you're secured as well, or you're cured. You're cured from the sin sick part of this world, because you're obedient to him. And if you remain in him, he says, you can do all things if you abide in me. So in 13, where he's teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I command you, this is the same scripture, Matthew 28:20. Somebody get that. So I'm just showing that there's nothing new. He said, what you've seen me do, I've done what the Father has said do. Moshe did what my Father said to him. He goofed up when he hit the rock after he was supposed to speak to a rock. But what you saw me do, I did it in absolute obedience and to completion. I fulfilled the law. I didn't come to abolish it. So Matthew 28:20, this is part of his commission. Whoever has it can read it.
Teaching them to guard all that I have commanded you. And see, I am with you always until the end of the age.
Wasn't that what Yahweh just told Joshua? He told them, he said, observe, go in. He said, be strong and courageous. He said, because this is in 6. I will not fail you or forsake you. Same words. Nothing new. What's old is new again. It is when we look at the book, when we look at the Torah, when we start to look at it cyclical, because we know you've heard the elders say it all the time. Everything comes full circle. What's done in the dark comes to the light. There's nothing hidden. We seen that in Deuteronomy 29:29. Nothing hidden. He said, the secret things belong to Yahweh, but the things revealed belong to us and our sons forever, that we may observe all the words of the law. If I show you something or tell you something, I didn't tell you for nothing. I told you so that you could do it. So that is where we are, where it says, so that we will observe it, so that our children's children will do it. That's talking about generational. It didn't say until Yahshua comes. It says forever. Forever.
I don't think that if they that forever, that must be a new word, because so many people don't understand forever.
Well, you know why? I'm going to tell you why. Because they want to go into semantics. Again, like I said, there's a word, the word for day. They say, well, om could be one part of the day. No, om can be from sun up to sundown.
Right.
Or from sundown to sundown. Or like this day. Om is this day. But we have good sense. We know that Yahweh set the earth in motion. 24-hour cycles. Seasons. New moons. All of that stuff to identify months, times, and days. So then how can forever stop? I believe I'm securely fastened for eternity, then why don't I have to obey for eternity? When do I stop obeying? I mean, once I think I'm securely fastened, I can do what I want to do. You're not saved. And then that's what we've been taught, and that's what I used to think too. Well, you know, it's one thing, okay, I could, if I just accept right now, and it's better to have fire insurance than no insurance. If I die, I know I'm saved. If I die, I'm going to hell because I confessed today, but I went and did what I wanted to do the rest of my days. I was not obedient. He was not my master. I still serve myself. I still serve the flesh, sin, and Hasatan, really, because if I obey the total opposite of what Yah says,
right.
then I'm not obeying him.
Right.
And there's no
can
way
only
you
have one
can,
master.
no way around it. My master was Hasatan. So guess what I get? My just reward. I get what I worked for. And people say, well, you know, the whole thing, well, salvation is a gift that no man should boast. Of course. But every man is rewarded according to his deeds done in the body as well. I don't obey. You go to the person, you identify with this person, because we know that when we transcend away from here, that energy doesn't die, or whatever people want to call it, the ruach doesn't die. So I'm gonna redeem what is familiar to me. Like, that's my child. Like he says, my sheep know my voice, and I know my sheep. So
That's good.
if you hear your child holler, I can be in a store full of
That's
people.
good.
If I hear that girl holler, I know the cry. I know whether she hurt. I know mad. I know whether to get there fast or just come and see, like, why are you hollering like that? I know. So if I know that, how much more does he know? He knows what's his. I know when I hear mine's holler. I know what it's about. I'm gonna come get mine.
That's right.
And I know what's not mine's too. I know when mine's not calling. I have good
That's
morning.
so good.
Shalom.
That's really good.
So we see here, we're gonna go to 14 through 22, where Israel falls away. So he's commanded them to be strong, be courageous, and then to learn, to fear, and to do, so that the children's children will obey. 14 through 22, somebody read that for me.
What book? Oh,
Deuteronomy 31, 14 through 22.
Then Yahweh said to Moses, behold, the time for you to die is near. Call Joshua and present yourself at the tent of meeting, so that I may commission him. So Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves at the tent meeting. 15, and Yahweh appeared to the tent in a pillar of a cloud, and the pillar of cloud stood beside the doorway of the tent. Yahweh said to Moshe, behold, you are about to lie down, it says in death, with your fathers, and this people will arise and play the prostitute, and with the foreign gods of the land where they go to be among them. They will abandon me and break my covenant which I have made with them.
Okay, so we see here where this is a prophecy. We know that prophecy has not happened yet. So even before you go into the land, I'm going to prophesy. And I'm going to tell you what I know you're going to do when you go into the land. You know how you tell your kids, I can give you this money and I know what you're fixed to do. You ain't going to do nothing you said you're going to do. But I'm going to test you out anyway. I'm going to give it to you.
See what you're going to do.
So in your Strong's, commissioned is Zavah. Zadi, Vav, and a Het. And it's Hebrew 6680. And so commission means to set in order, to for or forbid, to constitute, to give a charge. So he's now, when you see that when people are being set into office in quote unquote the church, they're commissioned and the hands are laid on these people and they're commissioned to go out and do Matthew 28:19, go out and make disciples, teaching them to obey and to teach and make disciples. So you're sent as a messenger. When I'm sent as a messenger, do I give my own message, or I'm to relay the message of the person that I am the ambassador for. Right? Okay, so he said, I'll give you this commission. And Moshe was even obedient after his disobedience. So that's another thing. People think, well, I already messed up, I might as well just keep on going. Keep on. No. It says to turn away. Turn away from your sin and don't do it no more. Okay, he turned away, but there are consequences for our disobedience. His consequence for his disobedience, he knew he was not going to the land. And we know, again, Yah spoke to Moshe as a friend, face to face. And you see, with a friend, he says, with a friend, I speak to my friend and I reveal to him what is going on. So even though Moshe had been disobedient, Yah, we don't know the time or day when we going, but Yah and him were so tight. He's like, look, I'm gonna tell you now, okay, you're 120. I'm getting ready to go and let them go into the land. You about to get out of here. You about to die. So go get Yahshua and let me commission him. And the message is not to change.
Right.
And just as they observed you obey me and they observed me leading you out of the land, I'm going to go. You don't get to go in this time. I'm going to go before him as I've done before. We know that he's providential and he's protective and he's a father. So I'm going to go before you and I'm going to prepare the land for you. Their hearts are already stricken with fear because they know y'all coming. So I'm just going to go before you. Their hearts have already waxed cold. Now obey me and do what I say, and you're gonna go into the land and dispossess it. So he said the day has come for you to die. So this is the Hebrew 31:17. This is Yom, sunrise to sunset, or the sunset to the next sunset, or next, or age, or which is time, or always. That's what Yom means in certain contexts. And that's where you can get rid of semantics, because if you understand communication, you know certain inflections. If I say you don't never, that means that's offensive to me too. I hate when somebody tells me, you don't never do such and such. Never means I always do the same thing. And I don't always do, or you always, so I'm always mean to you. Okay, well, why do you still talk to me then? Those things so those certain words have a meaning. Always means I do this every day, continuous. So that's why it ticks me off. Or you don't never, that means I don't never, ever. Okay, ever, I've never done it. So then, how can you identify I've never done it if I haven't done it before? No. So Yom, that's what Yom means. It's Hebrews 31:17. And to die.
How do you spell that?
Yom, Y-O-W-M.
Oh, W.
Yom. So he gave him instruction. He commissioned him. Same commission that has gone forth even into the Brit Kadashah. Nothing changed. Nothing new. Same. Okay, so verse 16. He said, and Yahweh said to Moses, behold, or observe. He said, you are about to lie down with your fathers. And this people will rise and play the harlot with strange elves of the land into the midst of which they are going, and will forsake me and break my covenant I made with them. He said, then my anger, this is 17, will be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them and hide my face from them. And they shall be consumed, and many evils and troubles shall come upon them, so that they will say in that day, is it not because our El is not amongst us that these evils have come upon us? But I will surely hide my face in that day because of all the evil which they will do, for they will turn to other Els. Now, therefore, write this song for yourselves and teach it to the sons of Israel. Put it on their lips in order that this song may be a witness for me against the sons of Israel. For when I bring them into the land flowing with milk and honey, which I swore to their fathers, this is 20, and they have eaten and are satisfied and become prosperous, they will turn to other Els and serve them and spurn me and break my covenant. Then it shall come about, when many evils and troubles have come upon them, that this song will testify before them as witness for it shall not be forgotten from the lips of their descendants. For I know their intent, which they are developing today, before I have brought them into the land which I swore. So Moshe wrote the song the same day and taught it to the sons of Israel.
Huh?
It's my favorite chapter of the Bible.
The same day.
It's the next one. It's 32.
Yeah, 13. Yeah.
The same day. And it says, again, so I have Psalms 25:14 says, Yahweh confides in those who fear him and makes his covenant known to them. Psalm 25:14. So just like he told him, it's the day you about to go. You trust me, right? You fear me. You reverence me. We talked about what reverence meant. So I'm going to reveal some things to you. Again, the hidden things belong to him. We don't know the time or the day. And that's why there should be a urgency for us to obey and to teach. Because we don't know when our days are coming. And we know that we have to leave a legacy. We have to. That's the burden on my heart, is I know. All of my children aren't in the covenant. All of my children aren't in Torah. It is imperative that I live this walk before them as I'm a remnant and have been awakened. It's imperative that I obey against all odds, even when I don't want to, even when I don't understand some things. And I've come to the understanding that if you obey the first truth, he's going to reveal the next one to you. And you see this. Told Moses, go get him. Go say I said. And he got to see mighty wonders, mighty things happen because he just obeyed. Go tell Pharaoh. I don't talk that good. Oh, go get Aaron. Yeah, let him talk. But go do what I said. And you got to see what just didn't make sense. The bush burning, I was drawn to the bush. And I go back somewhere where I know they looking to kill me 40 years ago. But he got to see great and mighty wonders happen because of his obedience. And so, verse 17, where it says, you're going to go ahead and sleep with your fathers. And 16, but then 17 says, and my anger will be kindled. We know how Yahweh feels about Israel. That is his nation. He says, I carried you with my talons. I've picked you up and taken you above your enemies and set you, made a nation of you. I've fought. I've punished those that have tried to punish you and persecute you. And we know that he chases those that he loves. And even when he does it, he's righteous. And that scripture that can also reference to this is 1 Corinthians 5:5. So he says, it says, hand them over to Satan for the destruction of their flesh, so that the Ruach may be saved. If you see somebody get a good old whooping, you liable to not do the same thing.
You will not.
I know I got a nephew like that. He see, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, he see a tap happen. He good for the rest. He don't fool with me at all because he don't know whether or not. I said he don't know if I'm gonna kill him or not. I ain't gonna kill you. Ain't mine. I ain't gonna kill you. I'm not gonna kill them. But you think it will, so you obey. So when I say something, you do it.
So what I was gonna say is this: the condition. Everybody acts like Yah is unconditional, and I'm gonna say yes, he is, but we are not. And so, like, we love our children unconditionally, but their behavior changes, which causes our behavior to change. Our natural inclination is, I just want to love you and hold you and kiss you and squeeze you, but then you act salty. So then I have to change to correct your disposition. So it's all, everybody thinks that Yah's the one that's bad and he's leading with the judgment. But if you read all these verses, even all the way to the New Testament, where the Hamashiach's saying, if, right? It's saying, if you, then I will. So he says, they will turn away. And he said, then my anger will be kindled. Didn't say, then I'm always mad and I'm just going to need another reason to be mad. He's like, no, I wasn't. But you're going to do this, and then I have to do this. A parent doesn't just walk around saying, you want to whoop it? You want to whoop it? You want to whoop it? I might. But
you know you're dealing with habitual line. I call them habitual line steppers. I know I'm dealing with habitual line steppers. I know your neck is stiff. I know, and that deals with, again, you deal with me disgracefully. You don't have any honor or respect for me. your neck stiff, you proud. So I know, like, you want me to break your neck? Like, what do you want me to do? Like, it almost makes you wonder. So you look at Deuteronomy 31:21. He says, I know. So we say yada. No, yada is no. Which means I know. I'm acquainted. That is Hebrew 30:45. I'm acquainted with you already. Very acquainted. So I already know what y'all gonna do. I'm acquainted by observation. It says that's what yada means. It says includes observation, care, recognition. And your sins will find you out. So I already know what you're capable of because I know what you do. But I still love you anyway. But I know what you're getting ready to do. And so a scripture that references to that is Numbers 32:23. It says Yahweh knows what we think and what our heart intentions are before we do the things that we're going to do. So you can read Numbers 32:23, and I'll give you another one. Luke 8:17 talks about what he knows. Mark 4:22 says he knows all, and Ecclesiastes 12:14. But Psalms 44:21 says, would not Yahweh discover this? For he knows the secrets of your heart. I already know what is in your heart before. I know what you developing to do in your heart when you get there. Oh yeah, you done say this. We're going to get into this land of milk and honey, and then we're going to do what we want to do. Really? Just a few chapters ago, I already told you what's going to happen if you get into the land and do what you're going to want to do. You've seen what I'm doing to the people who are in the land because they are sacrificing their children to Moloch. They're having orgies. They're worshiping many little elves. They're worshiping the devil. That's basically what they're doing. It's no little God and a big God. It's Yahweh and Hasatan. Right. Me and my sister always fight about this. I said, with me, there's no gray area. It's either black or white. I love you or I hate you. I'm not supposed to, but I do. I hate you. I fool with you or I don't. It's simple. So there's no in between, like, maybe, no, I don't know, maybe. So if I'm for you, I'm for you. If I'm not, I'm not. And that's just it. And that's how Yah is. It's like, it is, there's no gray area in this. There's no, there's Yahweh, then there's little Yahweh, then there's a little Yahweh, and then the devil. No, it's Yah or the devil. It's light or darkness. There is no between. There is none. So you over here worshiping the devil, so I call it what it is, and then you wonder why I'm mad at you, like you just said, because you worshiping the devil, and so you're gonna get out the land. So we see this is all prophecy. He says Israel will fall away. I know what they're gonna do before they do it. Go in there and teach them. Teach them, and it said, and Moshe did it. He taught them the song the same day, not the next day, not when he felt like it. When he shema, he did it. Asa. That's the other word. Shema asa, not shema. I'll wait. Okay, he said do it. And
Shema, and then sit down.
Sit down, yeah. We just say Shema. No, do it immediately, because again, I said there should be an urgency to see is with us. There should be an urgency today when we hear these things. An urgency to see Yisrael wake up. An urgency to keep the commandments, the statutes, and the laws. An urgency to obey Him immediately, because we know delayed obedience is still what?
Disobedience.
If I delay, I'm disobeying.
That's right.
Because what I used to tell you guys when you were little. If I say stop. That very second it takes you to, if I say get down, that very second it takes you to think or consider whether or not you're going to do is life or death. If I say move, don't step off the curb, I know what I see. I see it before you see. I'm taller than you. I know I can see the car. So you get out there and you get ran up. Run you up. The car gonna run you up. My baby said, "Get out that street. That car is gonna run you up." You get ran up. I'm gonna be sad. You know what I mean? I was like, and so you want to make me sad too, because you don't want to listen. Sad, and mad, right? Be mad at the person that hit you. That's how Yah feels about us too. You go into this land. You do what you want to do. You're going to get involved with these people. They are going to cause you to sin against me, but they're going to abuse you because they know who you are. They can't wait to abuse you. That's just like Hasatan. He can't wait to abuse you. I can't wait to get. He'd be like, oh, I can't wait for you to come over here. Get up.
It's like a dog on the side of a fence. It's like,
But we're that way
well,
too.
if you want to, I'm
We're
like,
that way too.
Yeah, right.
When we talk and we're women and we've had situations and I'm gonna come over there and do something. Please come over.
wish a Negro
I
would.
wish you would. I live by the wish tree. Can you please come to my house?
Wait. I'm standing in the middle of the street.
Come
on
now, please.
Okay.
But you are on
Sorry,
my
we're
turn.
over
But that's how y'all is.
Yeah.
That's how y'all is with us, and that's how Hasatan is too.
But you know what? And but the thing on the flip side of that is that when it happens, the first thing out of our mouths, and we all do it, is,
We knew.
why didn't somebody just tell me? Why didn't somebody just warn me? If y'all seen this, and y'all's like, I told you that this was gonna happen when you
all
did it.
these words.
But why wasn't you more
So
serious about it? Why didn't you grab me? Why didn't you lock me in a room?
No.
No.
Because
I told you.
I call you to Shema and Asa. If you ahab me or ahava me, you will Asa. If you Shema me, you will Asa. If you Asa, it means you ahava me.
Right.
So I mean, what I gotta, it's cyclical again. Why do I have to? I don't have to keep telling you. That's why I tell the kids. I don't have to tell you that piece of paper in the floor need to be picked up. You're gonna keep walking over it. I don't have to keep telling you.
You know
'cause
I don't
see
like
it.
paper on
You
the
know I don't
floor.
like paper on my floor. Those things. So we know that his word. He said, "Teach them this, teach them this," and he did it that very day. Matthew 24:36 says, "No one knows the day or the hour, not even the angels of heaven, but the Father only." And then Deuteronomy again 29:29 says, "The secret things belong to him, but the revealed things we're to observe and do." So he told them to teach it that day because you're about to go lay down with your fathers. I revealed that to you. I'm your friend. I'm telling you, you're about to die. And you see with him, with the urgency of him knowing that he's about to go, how urgent it was for him to write the next the next chapter will be in 32. I know I'm about to go to my Father, so it's I have an urgency in my heart knowing that I'm going to depart. I have to leave this with you, and I'm going to prophesy to you what Yah told me, and it's for you to do it. It's not for you to, But he said when you get over there and they start mistreating you, you're going to remember, and the song is going to testify against you, and the universe is going to testify against you, and the universe does bear witness against you, because we know that the word of Yah does not return to him void. Isaiah 55:11. We will give account for every idle word spoken in this body, and every empty and vain the behaviors that we've done. We have to give an account. How do you give an account for everything that you ever said if it disappears? He says, my word doesn't return to me void, because my word goes out and it performs, right? So if we're created in the image that he's created in, our words have a lot to do with how we respond, how we behave. Says out of the abundance of your heart, your mouth speaks. So you reveal certain things about yourself by what's said. And so Hebrews 4:12 also says the word of Yah is living, it's active, it's sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing to the division of the ruach and the spirit, of joints and of marrow, and discerning the thoughts and intentions of the heart. So the word is something, right? So I'm going to teach this to you. I'm going to sing this song to you. I'm going to teach the song to you, because now you done said it. See, you sing a song, you get a song, something stuck in your head. I wake up singing, because the song I got in my head now, my baby grandbaby says, working for you is what I like, but it's oh yeah, lucky for you, but the little beat is catchy. So Moshe heard this song that Yah told him to write. He told him to write this song. I'm going to teach it to you this day. Now you've said it. So now you said it so that you can meditate on it. Because once you say it, it's in your mind, it's there.
It's there.
It's
So
nigh unto you.
Nigh, the word is nigh. It's very close. It's in your mouth. It's in your heart. So not only are you going to testify against yourself, now I want you to write it, put it by the Ark of the Covenant. And he said, give it to the Levites. So we see how the, oh no, that's the next one.
You used to do that to us though. It drove me crazy, especially when I got older. Even as an adult, repeat back to me what I asked you to do. I'm like, wow.
I said, did you hear me? Uh-huh. Okay, tell me what I said.
Like, tell me.
And she'd be like, I'm not retarded. But no, yeah, y'all are. Because I asked the other one the other day at the shop, I said, pick this towel up and then go put it in the dirty clothes hamper and bring me the wig head. You know what I got back? A wig. I asked for the wig head. I didn't ask for the wig that was in the back. I had the wig up here that I'm supposed to work on. Why? I said, you know what? Let's start over. Did you not hear me? I get a wig and not the wig head, not the stand. I'm like, so I gotta tell you everything step by step by step. Really?
That's why he's like, okay, here's a song. Repeat it back to me. What did I say? What did I say? Because y'all gonna say I didn't say it.
Right.
What did I say?
Say what I said. Okay.
That's what he did.
So he taught it to Israel because he knew what they were going to do. So verse 23 says, Yahshua is commissioned. He said, then commissioned Yahshua the son of Nun and said, be strong and courageous. He said it again. For you shall bring the sons of Israel into the land which I swore to them, and I will be with you. And it came about when Moshe finished writing the words of this law in a book until they are complete, that Moshe commanded the Levites who carried the ark of the covenant and saying, take this book of the law and place it beside the ark of the covenant of Yahweh your Elohim, that it may remain there as a witness against you. For I know your rebellion and your stubbornness. Behold, while I'm still alive with you today, you have been rebellious against Yahweh. How much more then after my death? Assemble to me all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words to their hearing, and call the heavens and the earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death you will act corruptly and turn from the way which I have commanded you, and evil will befall you in the latter days. For you will do that which is evil in the sight of Yahweh, provoking him to anger with the work of your hands. Then Moshe spoke in the hearing of all the assembly of Israel and the words of the song until they were complete. So we seen in the last one, he said, assemble the people. This is what Yah told Moshe. He said, Moshe spoke these words, and he said, this is in 1. I'm 120 years old now, and I am no longer able to go with you, because Yah has said to me, you shall not cross the Jordan. He said in 12, assemble the people, the men, the women, children, alien, who is in your town, that they may hear, learn, and fear. So he didn't leave nobody out. So nobody was without. And we see the order of commission. Yah told Moshe, the leader. The leader told the people. And then he instructed the priests on it's written. Now, we know, again, when we went through, was it Vayakra or Numbers? Which one was it when I did the temple? And I said that the way the temple, I think it was Genesis, wasn't it? Or Exodus. Exodus. The way the temple was set up. We know the temple had an east gate, a south gate, northwest gate, and we knew Judah here, praise. That's how you entered. You entered into praise. So before you even got to the temple, you entered the tribe of praise. Then you came before the door. You willingly go into the door. Nobody makes you go into the temple. You do that on your own volition because you want to. But we know that the way the temple was set up, the people obeyed. They brought the sacrifices, and then until the sacrifices were made, Yah took the filth from the sacrifice. He took the entrails and all that, and he cleansed the sacrifices. Then the priests were allowed to eat off of it, and as well as the people. So we knew that the temple was the center of life. The temple was the wheel within the wheel. The wheel in the middle of the wheel. That's how everything circulated, because the temple was in the middle. The tribes were here, and the people lived within the tribes, each tribe around the temple. So we knew that it's cyclical. Everything happens. So we know that Yah speaks to his leader. The leader, until obeys, gives the law to the priest. The priest to teach the law to the people, and it's cyclical all the way around. So you see it right here. He says, so give them the law, teach it, and it's going to be a witness against them. The universe does the same. The fame of Yahweh's name is enough for you not to be afraid, because he tells him again. You see how many times he told him, be strong and courageous. It's just something about us humans. We have an inclination of fear of what we don't know. But to have witnessed it and to understand, you know, you should be willing to take leaps and bounds. I can remember, and I always say that, I said, you know, I sure hadn't been following y'all my whole life, and even when I thought I was, I still would do what I wanted to do. But it was a thing about, I don't have a healthy fear. Like, When I know when something in my heart and mind I want to do, I'm going to do it by any means necessary. And I don't know what's on the other side of what I'm getting ready to do, but I just trust in the fact that I think I'm bad enough to do what I thought I wanted to do. But just think about knowing that I have an Elohim that I serve that goes before me, fights, can rid nations of, can cause nations to tremble. It's something about that name that I should be able to trust in and to go forward and do what he's called me to do. But a lot of